Martha Jenkins was a quiet woman who had lived in the same small town all her life. She was 76 years old, and everyone in the neighborhood knew her as the kind lady who used to be a school teacher. She loved gardening, reading old books, and spending time with her grandchildren. Despite her age, Martha tried to stay independent. She liked doing her own shopping, going to the doctor by herself, and managing her bank accounts. She believed that being independent was important, even if it was sometimes hard. One sunny Wednesday morning, Martha woke up feeling a little tired but determined. She needed to get some money from the bank. Her monthly pension had just been deposited, and she wanted to withdraw $120 to pay for her medicines. Those medicines were very important to her health. Without them, she could feel dizzy or weak. So after having her usual breakfast of tea and toast, she decided to get ready and visit the bank. Martha put on her favorite light blue cardigan and a simple floral dress. She took her small brown purse and her old flip phone with her. The phone wasn't new or fancy, but it worked fine for making calls. Martha wasn't very comfortable with new technology. She did not have a smartphone or a tablet, and the idea of apps confused her. But she tried her best to keep up because her children had told her to use the bank's app to check her balance and withdraw money. The walk to the bank was short but slow. Martha's legs were not as strong as they used to be, and sometimes her knees hurt. She stopped a few times to catch her breath, looked at the flowers blooming in the neighborhood, and smiled at a few neighbors who waved at her. She liked these small moments. They made her feel connected to her community. When she reached the bank, the place was busy but quiet. It was a small local bank branch, nothing fancy, just the usual chairs, counters, and a few machines for deposits and withdrawals. Martha looked around and found a place to sit near the door. She clutched her purse tightly and pulled out her phone. She wanted to check the balance first so she would know exactly how much money was in her account. Martha tapped the screen nervously. She had trouble logging in because the screen was small and the letters were tiny. She couldn't quite remember the password because it had been a while since she last used the app. She pressed the wrong buttons a few times. The app froze for a moment, and she sighed in frustration. She looked around to see if anyone could help her. At that moment, a young bank teller named Jessica noticed Martha struggling. Jessica was new to the job and had a busy day ahead. She glanced at Martha but quickly turned back to the computer screen, thinking she didn't have time to help an old lady with phone problems. Behind Jessica, the bank manager, Mr. Carter, was walking back and forth, checking the floor and watching customers. Martha finally managed to open the app, but she was unsure about what to do next. She thought maybe she could just tell the teller her account number and the amount she wanted to withdraw. So she got up slowly and moved toward the counter. Martha's hands trembled slightly as she placed her phone on the counter and explained, "I want to take out $120 for my medicine. I'm not very good with this app, so I hope you can help me." Jessica sighed and gave her a tired look. "Ma'am, you need to use the app yourself. We don't have time to help every customer with their phones," she said sharply. Martha blinked, surprised by the tone. She tried to explain again, "I just want to withdraw money. My phone is old, and the screen is small. Can't you help me?" At this moment, Mr. Carter came over. His face was serious. "Ma'am, you are holding up the line. There are other customers waiting. If you cannot handle your transaction quickly, you will have to leave and come back when you are ready," he said firmly. Martha was shocked. She had never been spoken to like this in her life. She looked around. The line behind her was growing longer, and a few people were staring. Some looked annoyed, others seemed uncomfortable. Martha felt a heat rising in her cheeks. Her eyes started to water, but she blinked fast to hide her tears. "I'm not causing any trouble," she said softly. "I just need a little help." But Mr. Carter shook his head. "Please step aside. You can't stay here if you can't finish your transaction," he repeated. Martha felt her heart sinking. She took her purse and slowly walked toward the door. She didn't say anything else. The whole bank was silent except for the rustling of papers and the soft murmurs of other customers. Outside she paused, took a deep breath, and wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. The humiliation of being kicked out of a place where she trusted her money to be safe was unbearable. She had always been careful with her finances, saved every penny, and taught her children the value of money. But now, in this moment, she felt invisible, unimportant, and unwanted. As she walked slowly down the sidewalk, she noticed a few heads turning, but no one stepped forward to help. Martha wondered if people thought she was just an old woman making a fuss, or if they simply didn't care. Her mind went back to all the years she had worked hard, raised a family, and contributed to the community. Was this how they wanted to repay her? Her hands shook as she fumbled with her purse to make a phone call. She called her daughter, Susan. Susan answered after a few rings. When Martha told her what happened, Susan was shocked and angry. "Mom, that's terrible. No one should treat you like that. I'm coming to get you," Susan said firmly. Martha tried to calm her down. "No, dear. I'm okay. I'll be fine," she said. But deep inside she felt anything but fine. The walk back home was slow and painful. She wished someone had shown her kindness, patience, and understanding that day. Once inside her small house, Martha sat down on her favorite armchair. She took out the little bottle of medicine she had brought with her and looked at it. She thought about the bank staff and their cold behavior. She wondered if they had mothers or grandmothers, and if they would treat them the same way. For the rest of the day, Martha felt a heaviness in her heart. She remembered the smiles of her students and friends, and how important it was to treat everyone with respect, no matter their age, or how fast they could use a phone app. She promised herself that she would not let this incident stop her from living her life. But she also wished for a world where people like her could be helped, not pushed aside. That night, as she prepared for bed, Martha's thoughts lingered on the bank and the small phone screen that had caused so much trouble. She knew technology was changing the world, but she hoped that in this fast-moving world there would still be room for kindness, patience, and respect for the elderly. After Martha Jenkins left the bank feeling hurt and confused, she slowly walked home, clutching her purse tightly. She could still feel the sting of those harsh words from the bank staff. But what she did not know was that something important was about to happen, something that would change everything for her. At the same time inside the bank, a young man named Darius was sitting quietly in one of the chairs near the waiting area. Darius was in his early 20s, tall and with a calm face, but he carried a kind heart. He was waiting for his turn to speak with the bank teller about a simple matter. He was not in a hurry but was watching the scene unfold without taking his eyes off it. When he saw the bank staff speaking rudely to the elderly woman and telling her to leave, he felt a sharp pain in his chest. The way they treated Martha was unfair and disrespectful. She was not making a scene. She was just struggling with something many people struggle with: technology. And for that, she was being humiliated in public. Darius remembered the first time he saw Martha. She had been his third-grade teacher at the local elementary school. She was the kind of teacher who smiled often, encouraged her students, and never gave up on anyone. Even when Darius was a shy and nervous boy, Martha had made him feel important and capable. Her gentle voice and patient nature had helped him believe in himself. Now, seeing her being pushed out of the bank like a problem to get rid of, Darius felt angry. He quickly pulled out his phone and started recording the scene. He wanted to capture exactly what was happening, the unfairness and the lack of respect. As he held the phone steady, he whispered softly, "This isn't right." Martha didn't notice the phone, but some other customers did. They shifted uncomfortably, not sure whether to intervene or just watch. No one spoke up, but Darius felt the weight of responsibility. This was not just about Martha. It was about standing up for everyone who might be treated unfairly, especially the elderly who often don't have a voice. Once Martha left, Darius approached her to check if she was okay. "Ms. Jenkins?" he asked softly, and when she looked up, he saw the sadness in her eyes. "I'm Darius. You were my teacher," he said gently. Martha's face lit up a little. "Oh, Darius, it's good to see you. But today was hard," she said quietly. Darius helped her gather her things and offered to call someone to give her a ride home. Martha agreed, thankful for the kindness. Before she left, Darius sent the video to his phone and quickly uploaded it to social media. He added a simple message: "This is how we treat our elders? This is not right." Within hours, the video began to spread like wildfire. People shared it on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and WhatsApp. Thousands of people watched it, feeling the same shock and sadness. Many wrote comments expressing their anger at the bank staff and their support for Martha. People from all over the country started discussing the story, and some local news stations picked it up. The video showed Martha speaking calmly and kindly, even as she was told to leave. It was clear she wasn't causing trouble. She just needed help, and instead, she was treated unfairly. Viewers couldn't understand how a place like a bank, where people trust their money and personal information, could be so cold to an elderly customer. Among those who saw the video was Shaquille O'Neal, better known as Shaq, a famous basketball player and beloved public figure. Shaq wasn't just known for his size and skills on the basketball court. He was also famous for his big heart and willingness to help people. When he saw the video, he felt deeply moved. His own mother had taught him to respect elders, and seeing Martha's experience reminded him of his grandmother. Shaq shared the video on his own social media accounts and wrote a message: "We must always treat our elders with kindness and respect. No one should be made to feel small or invisible." His post quickly gained millions of likes and comments. Many people thanked him for speaking up and hoped something good would come from it. Back in the small town where Martha lived, neighbors started to talk about what had happened. Some were shocked and saddened, others angry. Many remembered Martha fondly, telling stories of how she had helped their children learn and grow. They felt ashamed that someone they knew and respected had been treated so poorly. Darius kept in touch with Martha. He visited her often and helped her learn to use her phone better. He wanted her to feel confident and safe when dealing with technology. Martha was grateful for his friendship. She was amazed at how one small video could bring so much attention and support. The pressure on the bank grew. Customers called and wrote emails, demanding an explanation and an apology for what happened. The bank's local management tried to respond but found it difficult. The story was now on national news, and the public was watching closely. Martha, despite everything, remained humble. She said in interviews that she just wanted to live peacefully and hoped people would learn to be more patient with one another. She didn't want to make a big fuss but appreciated the support she was receiving. Meanwhile, Shaq decided to take action beyond just posting on social media. He reached out to Darius, asking for more information about Martha and offering to help her personally. Darius could hardly believe it. To him, Shaq was a hero, someone who used his fame to do good in the world. The story of Martha and the young man who recorded her treatment began inspiring people everywhere. It was a reminder that sometimes one person's small act, like pressing the record button on a phone, could shine a light on injustice and create change. It was also a lesson about the power of kindness and standing up for others. As the video kept spreading, many organizations dedicated to helping the elderly contacted Martha and offered support. They sent volunteers to help her with daily tasks and technology. She received letters from strangers, telling her she was brave and important. The incident also started a conversation about how technology could sometimes leave behind older generations. Many people talked about how important it was for banks and other services to be patient and helpful, especially for elderly customers who might not be comfortable with new devices. In the days that followed, Martha felt a mix of emotions. She was still hurt by the way she was treated, but she also felt hopeful. She saw that people cared, and that made a difference. She often told Darius, "Maybe something good can come from this. Maybe people will learn to be kinder." The story did not end with just anger and sadness. Instead, it became a story of connection. It showed how a young man's courage to record a moment, a celebrity's heart to speak out, and a community's love for one of their own could come together to fight injustice. Martha's story reminded many that behind every elderly person is a lifetime of memories, struggles, and wisdom. They deserve respect and care, not frustration or impatience. And so, from a quiet moment in a small bank, a powerful movement of awareness and kindness began, all because someone decided to pay attention and speak up. When Shaquille O'Neal saw the video of Martha Jenkins being treated unfairly at the bank, something inside him stirred deeply. Shaq, as he was known to millions around the world, was more than just a towering basketball legend. He was a man with a big heart, known for using his fame to help others whenever he could. He had seen many things in his life, but this particular story touched him in a special way. It reminded him of his own family, his own grandmother, and the importance of respecting older people. Shaq didn't just want to watch from a distance. He wanted to do something real. He knew that sometimes people in positions of power or influence needed a push to take action. And sometimes that push had to come from someone with a voice as loud as his. So he made a decision. He would reach out to Martha personally and make sure she knew she was not alone. After sharing the video on his social media channels with a heartfelt message, Shaq's team quickly got in touch with Darius, the young man, who had recorded the video. At first, Darius thought it was a joke. Why would Shaq want to contact him? But soon, calls and messages came pouring in from Shaq's team, confirming the truth. Shaq wanted to meet Martha. He wanted to hear her story in person, to let her know she mattered, and to help her in any way he could. Darius arranged everything, carefully. He spoke to Martha over the phone and explained that a very special person wanted to meet her. Martha was surprised and a little nervous. She had never expected such attention, especially not from a celebrity. A few days later, Shaq arrived in the small town where Martha lived. It was early afternoon, and the sun was shining warmly. Shaq's arrival was quiet, no big crowds or media flashes. He wanted the meeting to be private and respectful. When he knocked on Martha's door, she opened it slowly, not quite sure what to expect. Shaq was a giant of a man, standing well over 7 feet tall, but his presence was gentle and calm. He smiled warmly and held out a bouquet of flowers. "Hi, Martha," he said kindly. "I'm Shaquille O'Neal. I saw what happened at the bank, and I wanted to come see you myself." Martha was taken aback. She blinked and looked up at the friendly face towering above her. She felt a mixture of surprise, gratitude, and disbelief. "Thank you for coming," she said softly, leading him inside. Shaq sat down in her modest living room, admiring the simple, cozy space filled with photos of family and old books stacked carefully on shelves. They talked for a long time. Shaq listened as Martha shared her feelings about the incident, how hurt she felt, how lonely it made her feel, and how important it was for her to be treated with respect. Shaq shared stories from his own life, about his family, his struggles, and the lessons he had learned about kindness and respect. Martha laughed a little when Shaq talked about how clumsy he was off the basketball court. For a moment the sadness lifted, replaced by genuine warmth and connection. But Shaq knew that words alone weren't enough. He wanted to take action. He pulled out his phone and made a call right there in Martha's living room. The call was to the bank's regional manager. Shaq spoke firmly but politely, explaining that the way Martha was treated was unacceptable. The manager was surprised to hear from such a famous person, but quickly promised to investigate the incident and take the necessary steps to make things right. Shaq told Martha that he had arranged for the bank staff involved to be suspended while the investigation took place. He wanted her to know that she had support, that justice would be served. Then Shaq surprised Martha again. From his bag he took out a check for $10,000. "I want you to have this," he said, "for your medicines, groceries, and anything else you need. No one should have to worry about money for basic things, especially not you." Martha's eyes filled with tears. She could hardly believe what she was hearing. The kindness and generosity overwhelmed her. She felt seen and valued in a way she hadn't felt in a long time. Shaq also bought her a new smartphone, one that was easier to use, with a bigger screen and simple buttons. He arranged for a young tech expert to come by her house the next day to teach her how to use it. Martha was a little nervous about the new technology but excited to learn. She wanted to stay connected with her family and friends, and now she had the help she needed. Shaq didn't stop there. He went live on Instagram and other social media platforms, telling Martha's story in his own words. He spoke about the importance of respecting our elders, about standing up against injustice, and about the power of kindness. Millions of people watched and listened. Many sent messages of support to Martha. The story touched hearts everywhere, inspiring others to treat elderly people with more patience and care. As Shaq left Martha's house that day, he promised to check in on her regularly. He wanted to make sure she was okay, not just now but in the future. Martha felt a deep sense of hope and happiness. She knew her life was changing, not just because of the money or the phone, but because someone cared enough to take action. In the days that followed, news outlets interviewed Martha and shared her story widely. She spoke about the kindness Shaq had shown and the importance of standing up for what is right. People from all over sent her letters, gifts, and offers to help. The bank faced serious pressure to change. It launched sensitivity training for all its employees to prevent incidents like this from happening again. The staff who had treated Martha rudely were disciplined, and new policies were put in place to make the bank more welcoming to elderly customers. Martha's confidence grew. She started using her new phone regularly, calling her grandchildren, sending messages, and even joining a local Facebook group for seniors. With Shaq's encouragement and Darius's help, she began to feel connected to the world again. Shaq's visit was more than a one-time act of kindness. It was the beginning of a friendship and a new chapter in Martha's life. It showed that even the biggest celebrities can make a difference by simply caring and taking action. Martha's story became a symbol of hope for many older people who felt invisible in a rapidly changing world. It reminded everyone that kindness is powerful, and that we all have a responsibility to stand up for those who might not have a voice. And for Shaq, it was a reminder that the true measure of greatness is not just in what you achieve, but in how you lift others up along the way. After Shaquille O'Neal's visit, Martha Jenkins' life began to change in many ways, but not all of them were easy. The attention from the media and the public brought both good and difficult moments. While she felt happy and supported by so many people, she also found herself adjusting to new challenges that she had never expected. For the first time in many years, Martha was in the spotlight. Local news reporters came to her house to ask questions, and national TV channels wanted to interview her. At first she felt nervous about speaking to so many people. Martha was a private woman who preferred quiet days in her garden, or reading a good book to standing in front of cameras and microphones. But as she told her story again and again, she began to realize how important it was to share her experience. She wanted others to understand what it felt like to be ignored, to be pushed aside because of age, and to inspire kindness and patience. Each time she spoke, Martha's confidence grew. She was proud to represent the voices of many older people who faced similar struggles every day. Shaq continued to support her behind the scenes. He would call her often, checking in to see how she was doing. His kindness became a source of strength for Martha. Sometimes, when she felt tired or overwhelmed, a call from Shaq would bring a smile to her face and remind her she was not alone. One of the biggest changes in Martha's life came from the new technology she now used. With the smartphone Shaq gave her, she was learning how to connect with her family more easily. Video calls with her grandchildren became a daily joy. She could see their smiling faces and hear their laughter, even when they were far away. These calls made Martha feel closer to them than ever before. At first, using the phone was difficult. The buttons were confusing, and the apps seemed too complicated. But Darius, the young man who had recorded the video at the bank, visited regularly to help her learn. He showed her how to send messages, make calls, and even browse the internet safely. With each lesson, Martha's confidence increased. Darius became like a grandson to her. They shared stories, laughed together, and talked about the future. Martha enjoyed teaching him some old recipes she used to cook for her family and listening to his dreams about college and life. Their friendship grew into a beautiful bond that gave them both comfort and joy. However, not everything was easy. Martha found herself tired after the long interviews and the sudden attention. Some days she wished she could just return to her quiet, peaceful life without cameras or questions. It was hard to get used to being famous for something painful. Some people wrote kind letters and messages, but others were less kind. There were negative comments online, people questioning why Martha was getting so much attention, or saying she was making a big deal out of nothing. These words hurt her deeply, but she learned to focus on the support and love she received from friends, family, and strangers alike. Meanwhile, the bank where the incident happened faced a serious crisis. The management worked hard to fix the problems. They apologized publicly to Martha and promised to improve their service. New training programs were introduced to teach employees how to be more patient and understanding, especially with elderly customers. The bank also created a special help desk designed just for senior citizens. It had staff trained to assist people who might have difficulty using technology or understanding complex banking processes. The changes were slow but positive, and customers began to notice the difference. Community groups and local leaders invited Martha to speak at events about respect for the elderly and the challenges they face in a digital world. She became a symbol of courage and dignity. Her story encouraged others to think about how they treat older people in their own lives. One day, Martha received a letter from a large charity organization that worked to help seniors live better lives. They invited her to join a new program focused on teaching technology skills to older adults. Martha was excited. She saw this as a chance to give back and help others avoid the frustrations she had faced. She started volunteering at a community center, teaching seniors how to use smartphones, computers, and the internet. Martha's gentle voice and patient manner made her a favorite teacher. The seniors loved her stories and her calm way of explaining things. Many thanked her for giving them the confidence to try new things. Through this work, Martha made new friends. She met people who had faced loneliness, health problems, or difficulties with modern life. Together, they formed a support group where they could share their experiences and help each other. Martha felt she had found a new purpose, a way to turn her painful experience into something positive. Her relationship with Shaq also grew stronger. He continued to visit when he could, and they often spoke on the phone. Shaq invited her to charity, events, and basketball games where she was warmly welcomed. She enjoyed meeting new people and seeing the excitement of the crowd. One evening, after a busy day at the community center, Martha sat on her porch, looking at the stars. She thought about how much her life had changed in just a few months. From a lonely woman kicked out of a bank, she had become a respected figure, a teacher, and a friend to many. She felt grateful for the kindness that had come her way and hopeful for the future. Martha knew that her journey wasn't over. There were still challenges ahead, but she felt ready to face them. She had learned that even in difficult times, kindness and courage could light the way. And so, Martha's story continued, a story of strength, friendship, and the power of standing up for what is right. It was a story that reminded everyone that every person, no matter their age, deserves respect and a chance to be heard. Martha Jenkins had come a long way since that difficult day at the bank. What began as a painful and humiliating experience had turned into a journey of hope, friendship, and change. Now, as time went on, Martha found herself facing new opportunities and challenges. She realized that her story was bigger than just her. It was about making life better for many others like her. After months of teaching technology to other seniors at the community center, Martha saw how much impact one person could have. She was no longer the shy woman who worried about being a burden. Instead, she had become a leader and a voice for her generation. People admired her patience and kindness. They respected her because she understood their struggles and had found a way to help. Martha's days became full of activity and purpose. She woke up early each morning, excited to meet her students and share what she had learned. She helped them understand smartphones, tablets, and computers. She showed them how to use video calls to talk to family, how to send messages, and how to find important information online. Many of her students had never used technology before, and some were scared of it. But Martha was gentle and encouraging. She explained things slowly and clearly, never making anyone feel rushed or embarrassed. She told stories from her own life to make lessons more fun and easy to understand. One day during a class, a woman named Grace told Martha that because of her lessons, she had finally talked to her granddaughter who lived far away. She said, "It was the happiest moment of her life." Martha's heart swelled with joy. She realized that her efforts were making a real difference. While Martha focused on helping others, the story of her experience continued to inspire people beyond her town. Shaquille O'Neal stayed connected with her, using his fame to support causes that helped elderly people everywhere. He often mentioned Martha's courage in interviews and on social media, reminding his millions of followers about respect and kindness. Shaq organized a charity event in a big city, inviting Martha to be a guest of honor. It was a huge celebration, filled with music, speeches, and basketball games. Martha was nervous about traveling so far and being in front of so many people, but Shaq assured her that she would be surrounded by friends and supporters. At the event, Martha spoke to the crowd. She shared her story with warmth and honesty, explaining how one small video had changed her life and brought attention to a problem many older people face. The audience listened quietly, moved by her words. When she finished, they gave her a standing ovation. Martha felt proud and grateful. She knew that her story was helping others feel less alone and encouraging people to treat elders with kindness. She had become a symbol of strength and hope. Back home, things continued to improve. The bank had fully apologized to Martha and committed to permanent changes to better serve their customers. They invited Martha to visit again any time, promising a warm welcome. Martha also received many letters and gifts from people who wanted to thank her for speaking up. Some sent books, others sent flowers or handmade cards. She kept all of these treasures carefully, each one reminding her of the kindness in the world. Despite the positive changes, Martha never forgot the difficult moments. She sometimes thought about how scared and alone she had felt that day at the bank. Those memories made her more determined to keep helping others and to make sure no one else would be treated the same way. One afternoon, as Martha sat in her garden watering her plants, she noticed a small group of children playing nearby. She smiled and called them over. She loved children and enjoyed sharing stories with them. They gathered around, eager to hear about her adventures. Martha told them about the power of kindness and standing up for what is right. She explained how a young man named Darius had helped her by recording the unfair treatment, and how Shaquille O'Neal had come to visit her and support her. The children listened with wide eyes, amazed at the story. She encouraged them to always be brave and kind, to help people who might be struggling, and to never ignore someone who needs support. Martha believed that by teaching children these lessons, the future could be a better place. Life was not perfect for Martha. She still faced challenges that came with aging, like health problems and moments of loneliness. But now she had a community around her, a group of friends, neighbors, students, and supporters who cared deeply. Her relationship with Darius continued to grow. He helped her with technology, shared meals with her, and spent time listening to her stories. They often laughed together, and Martha felt grateful for having such a caring young friend. One evening after dinner, Martha sat with a photo album full of pictures from her journey. There were photos of Shaq visiting her, of her classes at the community center, and of letters and gifts she had received. Looking at the images, she felt a deep sense of peace. She realized that even though her story began with hardship, it had grown into something beautiful. It was a story about respect, friendship, courage, and the power of one person to make a difference. Martha understood that her journey was not just about her, but about everyone who faces unfair treatment or feels invisible. She wanted to keep sharing her message so that others could find strength and hope. In her quiet moments, Martha often thought about the future. She dreamed of continuing her work, helping more seniors learn and connect with the world. She wanted to see a day when no elderly person would feel ignored or disrespected. Martha's story was a shining example of how kindness and courage can create change. It showed that even when life is hard, there is always a way to find hope and make the world better. As the sun set each day, Martha looked forward to the new day ahead, ready to face whatever came with a brave heart and a warm smile. She knew her story was far from over, and that was something to be excited about.